we've got ACLJ lawyers today in Maryland. Maryland has taken a very aggressive attitude, very aggressive on the issue of abortion, Cece. I mean, way more than way over Roe versus Wade, actually.
Right, and now they have a bill for a constitutional amendment that literally gives every person as a central component of an individual's rights to liberty and equality, that every person has the fundamental right to reproductive freedom, including but not limited to the ability to make and effectuate decisions to prevent, continue, or end one's own pregnancy. That language is so extremely broad and so really scary because it allows for an individual with their right to reproductive freedom basically to end a pregnancy. And we've seen that when they go to perinatal, even after the baby's born. And so
in Maryland, do they have the word perinatal in it?
They do not have it. But what's scary is they say right to reproductive freedom, including but not limited to. So what does that reproductive freedom really means? It's so broadly based. So, you have the right to reproduce, but that means you can end maybe a child's life after they're born.
So here's what's happening. We had great success in the overturning of Roe. No question about it. It was a great success. Then you had, which is now what's happened, is we had this kind of state legislatures came forward with resolutions that were very difficult to follow constitutionally. We represented a number of governors and attorneys general. Then, as things settled in, the courts were ruling in a more pro-life. In the last couple of months, we've had some good decisions. Now, Maryland, Jordan, taking an unbelievably aggressive action here.
Yes, it impacts conscience protections for doctors and nurses and pharmacists. So, because if you go this far, this goes way past Roe, and I think that's the education that needs to be done. This starts in the legislature, and then ultimately, gets voted on by the people. It was stopped once, didn't make it through this effort, and that's what we're trying to do now. Is not even get to that next point, because we know if we get to the next point right now, what we'll be up against on a constitutional amendment is millions of dollars from Planned Parenthood, who then from coast to coast, which are their kind of focus areas, want to make sure that abortion restrictions are less than they were under Roe versus Wade.
This is the written testimony of Olivia Sumner, senior lawyer for our staff.
What we submitted in our written testimony, which is that we oppose this House Bill 705 for various reasons, but specifically just like Jordan said, because it's so broad and it will take out any protection for life that Maryland does already have on the book, conscious protections, maybe informed consent, those kind of things. They'll all be gone. And it's so broadly written. It's basically gives the right to kill a baby at any time, definitely before birth, but possibly because it's so broadly written even after birth.
You wonder when you're seeing these, you got to say to yourself, how do we get it stopped? And that's where deploying a legal strategy is so critical. We've got ACLJ and ACLJ lawyers involved. Then we've now set up, in addition to our Office of Government Affairs, we set up ACLJ Action.
Yeah. So we've got multiple efforts. We have the C4 efforts, C3 efforts, but we know what we're up against. We saw it in places like Kansas, Kentucky. The list goes on. Even in the middle of the country, that's pro-life, red states, we were losing when these came to a vote because of the dis and misinformation from the abortion industry. They got into churches. They went right to the heart of evangelical America and said, you need to vote against these amendments protecting life because you who had a miscarriage will be investigated by the state for criminal activity. Why did you have that miscarriage? Are you responsible for that miscarriage? Did something you did personally? Or if IVF, all those issues came up. And so what we did is, I would say we lost the battle. What we weren't prepared for, we were so focused on fighting Roe versus Wade. When that draft opinion came out, they realized they had already lost Roe versus Wade.
Right, and they were already on to the next issue.